Well, you know that text that I just read to you from John 15, you've heard already once this year. It was the text that Pastor Sue preached on the day that she retired, the 30th of April. It's also the text that some 52 or 53 years ago, our predecessors gathered together and chose as the text to name our church, Abiding Christ Lutheran Church. So it has some significance to us, and of course out here with the vineyard stretched before us, it even has more significance. I think it's interesting that we're fighting the weather tonight. I'm glad we're in here and not out there right now. Yeah, so a couple of years ago when Leanne and I went on vacation, we came back and the men of the church gave us a wonderful gift. They cleared all the debris away from our house. You know, I'm a fat, wheezy old pastor with asthma, and I don't do a lot of yard work. In fact, I think the amount of yard work I do is a round number. And so over the course of the years, the weeds and the trees and the bushes had kind of grown up and swallowed the house whole, and you couldn't see the windows anymore. At any rate, we got home and suddenly we recognized that we had brick in the house. Anyway, brick, I thought it was all shiny. It was jarring to us at first because it was wonderful. First of all, it was wonderful. Some of you are sitting here, thank you for that. But there was one piece that despaired my wife and to me also. We had this big, like 8-foot fire bush in the corner. And I don't know who trimmed that back, but they cut that sucker right. I mean, there was about 2 feet of wood on the ground. Nothing. There were no. That's right. And she goes, "Oh, I love that bush. It's oh my." I said, "It'll come back. It'll come back." And you know, thankfully, that's right. That's right. Not only did they take the fire bush down to a stump in the corner, they took the one in front of the door out to the ground. If you go to our house today, the one that was down the ground is now a beautiful little fire bush right where the old one was, and the one in the corner is all filled in, looks beautiful, and needs to be trimmed again. So guys, that's it. Yeah. You know, pruning, cutting, as the guy who owns his vineyard will tell you, is a necessary task. Sometimes it feels like an act of violence, but it's not. It's an act that helps things to grow. In fact, sometimes cutting away the dead growth is the only way for new growth to take place. And if you're a disciple, you might think that you are spared from this. That's not true. And I'm wondering if in this particular year, any of you are sitting around like me wondering if you've been pruned a bit this past year, right? It's hard not to feel that way when you watch the news. I don't want you to get me wrong. I live a blessed life. I've got great friends, and great family, great job. You know, it's wonderful. I'm profoundly grateful for all those things. But as I speak to you right now, even over this thunderstorm, the entire American West Coast is on fire. That's not an exaggeration either. Hundreds of thousands of acres are burning to the ground. And of course, large portions of Southeast Asia and India are underwater. They're flooding in ways that they've not for, 100 years. And Greece spent the entire month of July on fire. Europe fried in the worst heat wave in recorded history. Portions of the British Isles recorded the highest ever June temperature. Sweden, those Lutherans in Sweden have been keeping records for almost 300 years. Did you know that? Hottest day in 260 years in Sweden. And of course in Siberia, for the first time in recorded history, the temperature hit 90 degrees in Siberia. Well, that's not all the bad news. Locally, in this country, you just read last week about a cheerleader, 20-year-old, who disappeared, and they found her dead in a field not too far away. And of course, you know, if you're a fan of the president, this has been a bad week. And if you're not a fan of the president, this has been a bad week. And if you are not too much tired of politics, I got more good news for you. This is an election year. So all the crap that you've been trying to avoid since 2016, it's all going to be back in a couple of weeks, so gird your loins. Here's the reality. At any given moment, even when things seem to be going well, there's a lot of bad things happening in the world around us. A lot of bad things happening to people we care about. We have to contend with life as it comes to us, and I think sometimes, if you're like me, you feel like you're being grilled constantly. Like we're cut off at the knees, cut off by life's tragedies, great and small, cut off by disappointment and despair, cut off by illness or job loss, cut off by some other circumstance beyond our control, left on the ground to wither and die, which is why it's so easy to hear this 15th chapter of John as a judgment. Get your act together, or God will cut you off and throw you on the ground, and Well, you wither away and die, but you see, that's not at all. That's not at all what it's saying. It's not a judgment, it's a promise. And it has to do with the context. And first is the context of John telling the story. He is offering these words, Jesus, to his disciples on the eve of his crucifixion. It's not just something happening, it's something very specific happening. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen to himself and to his flock. They don't. They're about to be cut off, and he's assuring them that it's not going to be a senseless pruning, not violence. They're going to survive. They're going to flourish. That's what he's telling them. And the second context is the community to which John was writing, his church, his congregation, people like you and me sitting around tables on a rainy day, hearing this story, because by the time they had heard these words, they had also been cut off. They'd been thrown out of the synagogues. They'd been told they weren't worthy, not good Jews anymore, so they had to find their own places to worship, in their own times, in their own houses. It was a tough time, so John is writing to assure his people that they have indeed been pruned. But it's a pruning to enable abundant life. Now, no doubt in the midst of their uncertainty, they also thought it was a little hard to see all that. Surely there was precious little evidence available to the disciples or to John's church that they had not been abandoned, that God had not left them to wither and die. No doubt it's still hard to know in our world, in our congregations, in our lives, the difference between being cut off and being pruned. Not when so much of life tears at us with little evidence that it's toward something that's more fruitful. But in the midst of all of that, Jesus invites us, actually he promises us that he'll never abandon us. He'll cling to us like a vine clings to a tree, so we can endure and persevere and remain and even flourish in the midst of hard times. Jesus said, abide in me. He didn't say abide in me or else, because that wouldn't be very good. What he actually said was, abide in me as I abide in you. Now think about these words. I abide in you. He's not leaving us to cut off if we whether to die. He's promising us that he will be with us, in us, around us, all the time. No matter what happens, Jesus will hold on to us. No matter what happens, God in Christ will be at work in the world, bringing things to a good and proper end. He will prune us that we might flourish and grow. Now, that's not the same thing as saying that nothing bad's going to happen. We know that's not true. It's not even saying that everything happens for a reason. No, it is to believe that everything happens because God in Jesus Christ promises to remain with us and to help us to endure it. Now, I know not everybody feels this way. Countless voices in the world and through the centuries argue that, no, there's no God. God doesn't care. God's not around. But remember the context. He's telling this story to his disciples on the night before he's crucified. He wants them to remember, after that night, not just his words, but the cross upon which he dies. The cross, you see, is not just an instrument of torture and death. The cross is a sign that no matter how bad things get in this world, our God has the power and the intention to redeem them and to make them better. If God can take the cross of Christ's crucifixion and turn it into a symbol of hope and presence, then there is nothing in this world, nothing, that can separate us from us. It's a hard passage to preach sometimes, but then, life in this world can be hard to live sometimes. So it is good to come out here once in a while, once in a year, and be grounded in this reality that Jesus spoke of. To be where vines grow, where grapes are harvested. To be reminded that it takes sweat and labor, that out of dirt and hard work, God sends gifts of grain and wine. To hear once again that the sufferings we endure in this life are not some vengeful cutting off. They are rather signs, sacraments of God's promise and presence. Pruning designed to ensure an abundant harvest, a better future. No matter what else might happen, Jesus is always with us. Now I'll invite you to get away from the rain, and then we'll close here. I will invite you.